Welcome and thank you for coming tonight for the Adventure Speaker Series. I'm Angela, the Outdoor Recreation Event Coordinator for Five Rivers Metro Parks. The Adventure Speaker Series and the Adventure Summit are both productions of Five Rivers Metro Parks and Wright State University. The Adventure Summit is a two-day event that happens at Wright State University. We alternate between the two every other year. So the next Adventure Summit is a big event, will be February 11th and 12th, 2022 at Wright State University. The Adventure Summit has over 40 presenters. There's an expo, there's all kinds of competitions. The Adventure Speaker Series has typically been 3 to 5 presentations that we space out across the winter at different venues throughout the Dayton area. We are kicking off the Adventure Speaker Series, the 2021 Adventure Speaker Series tonight, and it will run the next 6 Thursdays through April 22nd. For more details on these other presentations and panel discussions that are coming up, you can visit theadventuresummit.com. You can also follow the Adventure Summit on Facebook and Instagram, and that will get you information for the Adventure Speaker Series as well. We have a Q&A available, so please ask your questions. And I now want to turn this over to our featured presenter tonight, Tom Helbig. Thank you, Tom.
I know you all are going crazy out there. Thank you for the applause. I love that. Angela, thanks for the intro. It's really cool to be a part of the Adventure Speakers Series this year. What a great lineup. This is pretty cool for me as well because I used to work for Five Rivers Metro Parks, was there from 2007 until 2014. And one of my responsibilities was to be on the team to produce the Adventure Summit and Speaker Series. So I'm glad we all like each other still enough that I can be asked back. That's so great. It's my honor to kick off the series. I love the lineup. In particular, my buddy Dale Sanders finishing the series later on this season. 85-year-old man still bringing it in the adventure world. So something I hope to aspire to, and I look forward to hearing all the other presenters. So I went on a big long bike ride over the last 4 years, starting in 2016. And I thought the best way to answer some of the why, how did this all happen, with a video from the first leg of my journey, which was in 2016. I bicycled from San Diego, California to Key West, Florida. So we have a few minute video here about my southern ride across America. I wanted to do adventures that would help nonprofits.
What I get out of it is what they give me.
Special Olympics is offering programs internationally that are focused on the whole individual, health and wellness, the sports side of it, leadership, the social skills.
I decided to ride my bike in the southern part of the United States where it was warm, and I started in San Diego, California, and went to Key West, and I had this brainstorm that I could do volunteer service work in each state along the way for Special Olympics. It was in January of 2016 and then completed the trip in May of 2016.
I am literally speechless.
It was just me, my bicycle, and this empty airport with all my gear spread out. I mean, it hit me like, you're really doing this.
So, and my normally optimistic, positive self is being tested to the brink here in Texas.
There were a handful of moments on the trip that pushed me mentally, physically, to the point of where I said, what the heck am I doing?
Can't stop. Tomfoolery.
And am I really gonna
whine and complain because I have wind in my face and I have a big hill to climb. When there were folks that I met on the journey that had way more significant challenges in their life, and that always got me through it. And so I drew on those Special Olympic athletes.
1, 2, 3, team!
I found really listening to other stories helped fulfill this life mission I have to live active, laugh more, and inspire all.
I do everything.
You do everything all around. That's one of the greatest things about sports is the camaraderie you have with your teammates.
Right. It means just having fun and playing with your friends.
A lot of people tell me that what we do is very nice, but when it comes all said and done, our athletes give us more than we're going to ever give them, and what they give us is they teach us about patience, about how to be a good friend, how to be able to what sportsmanship is, and that is something that I believe the whole world needs to learn.
Excellent, thank you. Special thanks to Feis's Films, my friends Wes and Kathleen that produced that for me at the conclusion of my Southern Ride Across America. So I'll give you a quick overview of the talk tonight, and we'll have a good time together. It's kind of strange staring at a computer. I'd rather see your faces and hugs and high fives and see your laughter and hear your laughter. But you know, we're all going to make the best of it. That's kind of what you have to do when you're on an adventure. Sometimes plan A doesn't work and you have to go to B, C, and D. So I think this is plan B for now, as we'll do this online. So thanks to all that are in attendance. You'll see photos scrolling throughout the talk. So I wrestled quite a bit with how to narrow 4 years, 15,000, almost 15,000 miles, 450 some days on a bicycle, down to a 45, 50-minute presentation. I mean, I tell stories all the time to anybody that'll listen. And I could go on and on and on about that for hours, days, weeks, my whole lifetime. So I thought I would just share photos that are in the background as we chat tonight. So you'll see those. I hope you enjoy them. 99% of the photos are ones that I took with a cell phone, a GoPro camera, often setting up a timer, propping it up on a rock, putting it on a tree, whatever I could do to make it happen. Sometimes I would ride past my camera and then go get my camera, you know, so just made it work. So it's all, most of the photo and video I took myself, which I'm proud of. I think you'll enjoy it. So over the last few days, I've taken questions about my journey over the last 4 years. And here they are, all the notes. I promised to stay on track. There were 52 questions that came through on Facebook and Instagram that I'm very grateful for those. So that actually is how the presentation's gonna flow. And in many cases, the questions have led me on a path that I might not have otherwise discussed. So I thought it was really important to address the questions you had. There's an opportunity for you to ask questions live. We'll catch up with some of those that we missed later in the session. So the talk will cover, we lumped the questions in the excuse me, I just hit puberty there, into categories: thoughts and feelings, logistics, gear, and food and drink. And there'll be some miscellaneous stuff in there, but they generally are in these categories. And I'm going to start with a lot of the thoughts and feelings stuff, because there was a question about, why do this? What's your advice for somebody considering to do a long journey? You've got to get the thoughts and feelings side of it dialed in. So you have to want to do it. I think it's really as simple as that. And then you'll start to make choices. You'll spend money in a way that will allow you to do a journey. Your priorities will all lead you to do whatever your dream adventure or trip, excursion is. So I recommend focus on the thoughts and feelings, and then the rest of the stuff will take care of itself. But we'll go into more detail on that throughout the evening. So an orientation to the route. You learned about my southern portion, which started all of this. In 2016, which was a couple years after I started my business. So by the way, I own a company called Tomfoolery Outdoors. I'm Tom and Tomfoolery, sometimes the fool, depends on the day and the moment. And I really love long distance adventures. So when I created my business, I wanted to schedule my programs and events that would allow me big gaps in my schedule to where I could go on long adventures. So typically in the winter time, I'm from Dayton, Ohio. Typically in the winter time, Dayton, Ohio isn't the most awesome place to be weather-wise. And so I kind of seek out warmer weather experiences during the winter. And I also live in a van, so that's where the presentation is hosted tonight. By the way, to my left is Key West Harbor. So I'm going to celebrate our talk tonight with some time on the town. I'm hanging out in the Florida Keys for a week. So I enjoy going to experience warmer weather stuff in the winter, and that led me to think about doing my bike ride in the winter time, because I have a full schedule of events typically in the summer. So San Diego to Key West was the southern ride, and I also wanted to do something more than just ride my bike across the country. So I decided to do at least one volunteer awareness event for Special Olympics along my route. And my goal was to do one in at least each state that I rode through. Love the experiences. You'll see some of the photos from reffing basketball games to bowling, cycling practices. I was a barbecue judge for a barbecue competition as a fundraiser for the Special Olympics chapter in Louisiana. And so I had all these amazing experiences, and I raised money along the way. We raised about $9,300. I distributed it to the 11 organizations that I supported along the way, and that cheerleaded me along the way as well. So after that journey, the goodwill and the positive energy was off the charts, and I wanted to experience more of that. And I started to think about how I could do so, and that led me to this idea that I would bicycle the perimeter of the United States. And by the way, I've learned whenever I tell people that I biked around America, I draw a circle. So there you go. And I thought, man, I would like to showcase the positive people that I meet along the way. And I love Special Olympics. By the way, I was a coordinator for Miami County Special Olympics in Ohio for 9 years, from 2007 to 14, or I'm sorry, 1998 to 2007. And it's important to me that people understand that outdoor adventure should be for all people, regardless of physical ability, mental skills, race, gender. It should be for everybody. And I thought my bike ride would be a megaphone to celebrate that recreation could be for all. So I wanted to continue that message as I traveled around the country, and I found that storytelling about my adventures was a way to celebrate cool people, cool places that I experienced, shine a light on the more positive side of our world. And so that led me to creating the Tomfoolery Good Vibes Tour, which is a quest to bicycle the perimeter of the United States to celebrate the goodness in people. We're here tonight. I made it. 2018, I bicycled from Key West, Florida to Canada, to Lubec, Maine in the United States, and then across the border into Canada. I rode 10 miles on an island to experience Canada. And then I took a break, focused on some other events and projects. And then in 2019, in the fall and early 2020, I bicycled the Pacific Coast from Vancouver, Canada, Tijuana, Mexico, heading south again, starting in warmer climate in the fall to where I progressed down south to Mexico, Southern California in the winter. And then COVID hit. I finished my Pacific Coast ride on March 2nd of 2020. And wow, the timing could not have been better for me to finish. I wrapped up in Southern California and Mexico, caught a plane, and was starting to hear word about COVID. And so I came back to Ohio, tooled around in my van, caught up with friends, and then started thinking about what the heck was I going to do with myself. My business pretty much was ruined in the traditional sense. Everything that I created in the past, I then had to cancel, which was very unfortunate. So I hung out in Pisgah National Forest for about a month in North Carolina, social distance, and really thought about what I was going to do for the summer. And I decided I was going to take on the challenge of bicycling the northern route across America, which was always going to be the most difficult one for me to do from a scheduling perspective. I wanted to bicycle across the north in the summertime, but that was when the peak of my event season is. So I took the silver lining and decided, my schedule's clear. Who knows when I'll ever have this opportunity again? And I decided to do it. So I flew to Seattle, Washington on July 9th, 2020, and then finished in Bath, Maine, connecting the dots all the way around America. So ocean to ocean on the northern route. And that was in October 28th. I came back to finish that in time to vote in the election. So that was one big happy loop around America. And there's countless stories and amazing experiences and unbelievable people that I've met along the way. And one of the greatest takeaways that I have from all four legs of my journey is we live in a really, really beautiful, diverse country from a geographic perspective. We live in a very diverse country, socially, economically, spiritually, and I love it. And I love to witness that stuff firsthand. I don't want to hear what the 5 o'clock news tells me about a particular town or the state of our world. I would rather see it myself. And a bicycle provided me a unique opportunity to do that. I'll touch on some other things in more detail, but that's the common thing. And I'm also not trying to convince you to bicycle around America or live in a van or backpack the Appalachian Trail, like some of these big time adventures. But I will be your biggest cheerleader if you tell me you want to do it, and I'm going to hold you accountable. But I would like you to do things that you enjoy, that put a smile on your face. Do those more often. I would often hear people say, you know, I haven't rode my bike in a long time, but I love it. And I say, why in the world haven't you been on your bike in a long time? You love it. And so it brought up these amazing conversations, and occasionally I would friendly challenge people to pursue whatever makes them smile a little bit more. So that was always a key theme in my bike ride and discussions I had. I want to conclude this part with thanking some of my sponsors on the journey, which was really cool. Black Pug Bikes, which is a bike shop in Yellow Springs, Ohio. Chris Worrell, Connie, if you're there, I love you guys. They sponsored my bicycle in 2016, which is a Soma Saga touring bike that I rode all 4 legs around America, almost 15,000 miles and 450 some days. And so we got to know each other really well, and I felt safe and comfortable and happy on my bike. So thank you to Black Pug Bikes. And then when I brought it back to Yellow Springs after each journey, Chris had his work cut out for him to get it back in shape for the next go round. So I call him the Bike Whisperer. That man can work some magic. So thank you, Chris. I love you, buddy. And then the other really unique thing, I didn't grab this, excuse me. I'm grabbing my helmet. I had it hanging here. Mitot's Art, which is a creation by my artist friend Amy Kohler Anderson in Dayton, Ohio. She creates these creatures called Mitots. And so I would pass out these stickers as I traveled to people that were just having fun outside, kids, families, from age 3 to 103. And it was a really fun way to make people smile and just have conversations with people I might not otherwise. Okay, so are you cool with this schedule? Well, that's the overview. I love riding a bike. It makes me happy. That's one of the main reasons I did it. So I'm gonna address some of the thoughts and feelings stuff. I'm gonna use this light here to help me. I'm in my van, so I'm working on the mood lighting. Hopefully it's okay for you. So I was solo on my journey. One of the first questions was, what did you like about riding by yourself, or would you have preferred to ride as a group? I definitely prefer riding solo. I love people. I love the interactions that I have. But an adventure of this magnitude, I prefer traveling solo. It's more simple. The only person that I have to respond to is myself, my gear. It also opens me up to communicate with people that I might not otherwise if I was in a group. So for me, I'm cool with and love going on adventures with other people, but that's a totally different mindset to have when you're with a group. So I encourage you, if you are considering a long distance adventure of any sort, that you really take that into consideration, what your preferences are. If you are going to go on, especially a more remote outing with other people, less services, less chance or more chance for risk or emergency, that you've communicated all of that with the people that you're going to participate. on the journey with. Traveling solo, I still have all those considerations, but I have myself to deal with it. So if I'm struggling going up the mountain, I need to dig deep and find the drive to do that. Or I can rest and take a nap, which I've done a bunch. So those are some of the dynamics to consider. We have a ton of questions and a short amount of time, so I'm going to try to go through these as quick as possible. I also do consulting for adventures. So if you're considering an adventure of your own and you would like to dig into this stuff more detail, please touch base and we can make it happen. What were smaller goals you set to stay motivated? I met a friend of mine as a triathlete, Ironman triathlete. And she said, just get to the next buoy. That was how she motivated herself in the open water swimming, which was the biggest challenge for her. And she said, if I could just get to that next buoy, I knew that I could make the next one. And so that was the overall approach that I had. Anytime I thought about, man, one that was a big mental obstacle for me was Texas. It was 1,000 miles across on its own. And whenever I would think about riding across Texas, the whole way I would get intimidated. And I got much better at thinking about, okay, I'm just going to pedal today. I'm going to experience everything that's cool today, live in the moment. And that helped me get to the next step. So, state lines were very motivating. If you follow me online, you notice that I would do different celebrations or take fun photos at the state lines. Those were very motivating. People that I would meet along the way, fun interactions, a specific landmark that I was excited about reaching. Those all helped me navigate some of the tougher times. Do you get scared at night? Any scary animal encounters? Not really. I'm always aware of my surroundings, but for the most part, I'm not scared. I'm mindful of precautions that I need to take. When I was in the Northwest, I was smack dab in the middle of grizzly country, grizzly bears. So I took proper precautions and just did the best I could to minimize the risk. But I was mindful. If I was camping in a spot that made me uneasy, I would just move and find something else, but not really. And I realized that may be from a level of privilege, being a male, being a white male. There are some advantages to that in our country. But I also know a bunch of female solo travelers, people of color. So none of that should stop you. If you have fears, be honest with yourself and do the best you can to mitigate those. Do you meet people along the way and travel with them on legs of your trip, or are you primary solo? I touched on that. It was rare that I rode with anybody, even random people I met along the way. I would say less than a dozen times on the entire journey, maybe for a day here or there, or a few miles. I met a guy in Minnesota that was bicycling. He wanted to bicycle 63 days for his 63rd birthday during the year, and I got to bicycle with him on his 63rd day, which was really cool. My buddies Kreider and Steve and Matt Hayes met me in Michigan, and we bicycled for a few days together. But other than that, it would be pretty random. I did bicycle with some Special Olympic athletes on my Southern ride, and then I participated in a few group rides when I would roll into a town and I would get invited to join a group ride, more of a social experience. So that was a lot of fun. I took advantage of that occasionally. Best and worst experiences of the ride. There is no such thing. It's the moment. So you'll hear that theme. I live in the moment as best I can. Whenever I wander into the future or into the past, that's when I can get a negative mindset, or I'm not giving my full attention to people I meet. Sure, there were amazing experiences. There were some negative ones. I guess the worst negative is I got ridiculous poison ivy on my entire body, including my private area, which is a horrible place to get it. But, other than that, I focus on the positive. And if you followed my journey at all, that was very intentional with me on social media. There's a ton of people that are promoting the negative out there. We don't need more people promoting the negative. I think we have enough of that, right? So my choice very intentionally was to celebrate the positive. So you'll have a hard time getting me to say the best and worst of anything, but I may humor you. We'll see how I feel throughout the night. When did you want to quit? What mileage, terrain, weather? I never wanted to quit the entire journey. My journey was bigger than myself, and that was intentional. And that I think was really important for me when I set out on this journey, especially the Southern Ride and then continuing. I wanted to celebrate cool people, places, organizations that were making the world a happier place. And if I quit, I couldn't do that, at least on a bike ride anyways. I think I still do that on my non-bike ride experiences, but I had a larger megaphone with my bike rides. So it catches people's attention when you say you're bicycling around the entire United States. So I didn't want to lose that. I wanted the opportunity to celebrate the cool people that are in the world. Now, I would want to quit on particular days, and most often I would take a break, I would take a nap, I would go for a swim, I would eat, I would rest, I would listen to my body and mind. That way I could finish the journey, make it to the next buoy, whatever my goal was. And that really helped me get through some of the tougher stuff. Does it get lonely? No. Lonely is a mindset. I believe in that 100,000,000,000%. I know a lot of people that are lonely around other people. So I enjoy my own company, and consequently, I think I have a lot more to offer. So I don't get lonely. I crave social interaction, and when I feel that way, I'll go and intentionally ask somebody how their day is going. I'll go to a bar or restaurant and strike up a conversation. I'll go to the beach and ask if I can join in on their game, whatever. I have tools to satisfy my social cravings that are very strong with me, for me. But I do love solo time. My mom would worry about that, and I would tell her I'm never alone. I'm solo. There's always people that love me, virtually, in person, people that I meet in a random encounter. I have plenty of people out there that love me, and so do all of you. So please remember that. What are your top 5? Oh, here we go. Top 5 most beautiful places, human encounters, animal encounters. You guys know how I'm going to answer that, right? I love them all. There's moments that stand out that will never leave me, characters that I meet along the way. There was some photos from the Pacific Northwest going right now. I saw a gray whale. That was at Nia Bay, which is the day 1 of my Pacific Coast ride. I had never seen a whale before. That was incredible. I sat in a brewery in California and watched seals through the floor of the brewery. That was pretty cool. I watched bald eagles fly down the road, overhead, like tons of experiences. I watched a spider weave a web on the trail. Lots of just cool things when you're in the moment. Similarly with people, tons of cool encounters by being in the moment. I'll highlight, so by the way, I call these people, places, organizations, communities that make the world a better place. I call them good vibes leaders. I will touch on an occasional good vibes leader throughout the evening. I'm going to try to go a little quicker on some of these. Do you ever get mistaken for being homeless and people rude to you? Generally, I received what I gave out. My shirt would say good vibes. It had my Tomfoolery logo. On my northern ride across America, it said love. So I was very intentional about the energy and attitude that I was bringing to my encounters. So 99.9% of the time, I also received love and good vibes and positivity. I did have a tough go in the Pacific Coast, particularly Washington and Oregon. It was just a few months after one of my best friends, Jack Hatter, passed away. And I was in my head a lot on that journey. I missed my friend. The Pacific Northwest was his favorite spot in the world. And I just had a tough time. And you know what I noticed after the fact is I was more closed off to people around me, and that did affect my experience. So I became very mindful of that as I rode around the country. Was I mistaken for homeless? Regularly, but I was cool with that. I'm always intentionally homeless. I live in a van, I live in a bike, I live on a stand-up paddleboard, I live in a backpack. But one of the more funny moments was actually in Key West. I was sleeping in a random park in the mangroves, and there was a storm coming through, and this woman came in and says, hey Mikey, you better wake up, a storm's coming. And she walks over and says, oh shoot, you're not Mikey. I said, no, I'm Tomfoolery. She goes, yeah, you're not supposed to be here. I said, well, I'm biking around America and this is my camp for tonight. And she said, well, you might want to go hang out in this shelter. So that was my homeless story. I do have a friend named Mike Kreider that I often will say, hey, Mikey. So it's a long-standing joke now about my homeless encounter. These 52 questions are blowing around my van right now. You can see the harbor here. It's cool. I'm gonna stall for a second. Okay, back to the thoughts and feelings. I know there are many moments, but if you could pick out one, what would be your favorite? Can't do that. I love riding a bike. I love seeing America. I love talking to all people geographically. Like here's an example, North Dakota. Most people might think that, hey, that you wouldn't put that on your top of the list in North Dakota for the most beautiful place in America. But when I rode through North Dakota in July, the sunflowers were blooming across the entire state. You'll see photos of that if you stick around long enough. So it was spectacular. So I also really love having fun in places that people don't normally associate with fun or beauty. I accept that challenge. I embrace it. So that's my attitude through the whole journey. I do love the Northeast. I love the Atlantic coast. I love the South. I love the Pacific coast. I love the North. Does that cover it all? Someday I'll bike across the center. Let's see, what's next? It's awesome. 52 questions. I might not get to them all. The ones I don't get to, I'll answer directly on social media afterwards, so I can give you the most attention I can. But I'm going to get to as many as I can. What did you think you were going to miss but didn't at all? I definitely missed the day-to-day interactions in person with my longtime friends and family, people that I see more regularly. My lifestyle does pull me away from friends and family often, but in many cases I've been able to enjoy my journeys with friends and family along the way, whether it's fellow van lifers, my parents. We seem to have found ways to connect on all four legs of my journey, basically. Friends join me along the route. And then I would always meet new friends that are now longtime friends, that many that I can hit up if I need something or if they're coming through wherever I'm at. So I love that trade-off. But that's one of the things from my lifestyle that I do time to time. You know, it's a disadvantage of my lifestyle. Seems like most people would be super shocked. Oh, a jet's going across. Key West has a Navy base, so I'll try to speak up. Seems like most people would be super shocked and impressed with your ride. Anyone have the opposite? It was a spectrum. Most folks would be, holy cow, I can't believe you're doing that. You mean you're pedaling, not a motorcycle? I wouldn't even drive my car around America. And I would say, yeah, I wouldn't either. I don't like driving places, actually. I would prefer to bike or hike or paddle. I'm in Key West today. Honestly, it kind of sucks to drive in Key West. Every time I've been here before, for the most part, I've been on a bicycle, I've been in a kayak, I've been on foot, and it's much easier to get around in many places in our country, especially cities. I mean, we have a lot of work to do to be more bicycle friendly. I'll always accept improvement, but generally, I love to ride a bike. So I agreed with those folks that said I wouldn't even drive across America. Well, neither would I, really. I'd prefer to do the bike. And then there would be people that would say, man, I've always wanted to do that, or something like that, but I'm not like you. And I said, well, good. Don't be like me, because you want to be yourself. But if you want to bicycle more, do it. If you want to fish more, do it. If you want to hike more, do it. Play music, garden, all those things. I'm going to be your biggest fan. So it's not a competition. It's not to see who can bicycle around America the most. Like, do I get a badge of honor because I bicycled around America? No. I get experiences, gratitude, growth. My physical and mental health improves. So that's the challenge I take with my human-powered adventures. What's next? You said in other talks you've given that human interactions on these journeys has had a huge impact on you. Can you tell us about a memorable person you met? Always. The people. I've been in some of the most nondescript places in America that, because I had an amazing experience with a human being, I remember that place forever. I remember that person forever, at least until my memory's gone. And yeah, so there are people that have left an impression, a footprint on my life that'll never go away. a few. Peter down in Hollywood Beach, Florida. He was riding this crazy bike that he took all these items from the beach. He was intentionally homeless, and he told me that with the right attitude, you're always in the right place at the right time. Dean in Texas taught me the value of looking up at the stars, looking up from your phone, looking up when you're walking down the sidewalk. Look around you, observe what's around you, be aware of your surroundings, be in the moment. I never forget Dean encouraging me to look up. Martina in Arizona, a beautiful Mexican woman that taught me the power and healing power of water. I've always been drawn to water. Most human beings are. And we need that. I need that. Whenever I was having a tough time, I would find and seek water to heal, to recover, to change my attitude. And Martina I actually have no way to stay in touch with her. We didn't exchange information, but she told me, remember the water, Tomas. Remember the water, Tomas. Remember the water, Tomas. Good luck on your journey. And Martina's with me all the time. I just went 2 days without being in the water. It was super windy, and I had to prepare for this presentation. And today I said, I need to be in the water. I've got to be mentally prepared for tonight's talk. So consider the water. People are awesome. Best trail magic moment, man, a lot. I was received kindness. I'd be invited into people's homes. They'd pay for dinner. I have the virtual support crew online. People back in 2018 would say, hey, can we buy you a beer? Can we buy you food? Can we get you a place to stay? And I was like, yeah, you can. I'll take you up on that. You want to be a part of my journey? I'll do that. So we created the virtual support crew where people could offer kindness along the way. That was the formal way. And then there was just countless experiences where I would get generosity from people along the way. Okay, that was a lot of the, what was the suckiest part of the adventure? Poison ivy. Now we're going to go really quickly. So you're going to get this theme because we have like, I don't know, 5 to 8 minutes remaining. The thoughts and feelings part of it, the internal drive, the motivation, the willingness to do it, the desire, the passion will override all this other stuff that you guys ask questions about. You will figure out the logistics. You'll figure out the finances. You'll figure out the scheduling. You'll figure out, and especially when you start putting it out there, if you're a nice person, people will want to support you. So the rest of the questions will be generally answered that way, but I'll humor you. If the universe doesn't reach out, what was your plan for help when you broke down? Kindness to strangers for sure. I mean, I'm not careless. I also had basic bicycle repair supplies, patch kits, spare tubes. One of the huge gear things that helped me, Black Pug Bikes they sponsored Marathon Schwabe tires. Another plane's coming over. Marathon Schwabe tires that were basically bomb-proof. On the southern ride, I had 9 flats. On the Atlantic, Northern, and Pacific coast, I had 4. So that was huge. My mom and dad got me AAA, which they have a bicycle version, so you can get picked up and helped out just like you would if you had a car breakdown. So my parents were really worried about me, and they got me that. My mom also is the only one on earth that can track my every move. She follows me on Google. You can share your location, and she can, so that was a safety mechanism. What about your bum? How did it not hurt? It always has a level of discomfort. You cannot help that. Wear padded shorts. Contrary to popular belief, a smaller seat actually is better. Get one that you're comfortable with, and then you just have to have time in the saddle. Anytime I would take too many days off, I would know it. It would kind of be like I was starting over. So you want to keep that in mind. Did you listen to music or podcasts? Most of the time I did not. I wanted to be aware of what was going on. If I was on quieter roads, I would listen to podcasts, audiobooks. Across the northern U.S. and Montana and North Dakota, I listened to a lot of audiobooks because I was on a lot of quieter roads. So that was really good. Where did you sleep? In a tent, a hammock, people's couches. I mostly wild camped. I hate paying for camping, so I often would seek out free spots, tuck in the woods, ask for permission, behind a bar, behind a library. I believe in the power of positive relationships, so that would often help me. On the Pacific Coast, there was more formal. They had bicycle hiking campsites, in most of the state parks. And so those were $5. And that was a great spot to get a formal campsite, interact with other travelers. I really enjoyed that. And that was definitely a benefit of the Pacific Coast. Where did you poop? Just like all of you, in a toilet. Occasionally I would go in the woods. Once I pooped in a bag. There was a little bit of challenge during COVID. A lot of public restrooms weren't open, so I did poop outside a little bit more. How did you pick your stops? Whenever I was feeling tired, whenever the moment struck, whenever I met a cool person, whenever I had too many beers at the end of the day. It was rare that I knew where I was going to sleep at the end that night at the start of the day. How many tune-ups did you have to do? I usually replaced my chain once during the ride. I told you about the flats. And then at the end of every ride, every segment, I got a tune-up from Black Pug Bikes. Did you have any blowouts? We talked about that. Basically, 13 on the entire journey, 9 in the south. How did you plan prep for such a big adventure? I decided to do it, and then the rest took care of itself. If anybody wants to get really detailed, if you wanted to get into the minutia of it, I do consulting. I offer adventure planning workshops, but you have to decide to do it. And then you need a bicycle, and just ride the one you want, or you need a backpack, or you need a paddleboard, and just ride the one you have. Some will be more comfortable than others. You'll learn over time, but if you wait for the perfect bike, the perfect piece of gear, to be in the best shape of your life, to have the most money, you'll never do it. So get that out of your head. All right. I'm going to rip through the rest, and I may not be able to get to the rest, but I'll answer those online. How much time did you research? Basically, a lot of it I went by the seat of my pants, but I also was not naive. I was mindful of weather, areas where I need to be more mindful of wildlife, like storing food, and busier roads that I might be on. By the way, all locals think their drivers are the worst. Every state told me their drivers are the worst. So I would kind of always take that with a grain of salt. Occasionally, somebody that's more of a planner, you might know places that you wouldn't want to miss. I don't want to miss experiences with people and the randomness of life and the spontaneous. So if I plan too far ahead, I would miss out on that, and it added extra stress to my journey that I did not want. I was riding a bike. I wanted it to be fun. And for me, the spontaneous, figured out as I go, was more fun. And I trust my skills, my ability to create positive relationships, and the rest would take care of itself. Saddle sores, emergencies. I only had to go to the doctor once, and that was to get a steroid shot for the poison ivy. Did your back hurt from camping? No, I love yoga and stretching and meditation, so I was very mindful of that. I also, a very important piece of gear is a quality insulated ground pad, something that will keep you warm from the off the ground and comfortable. Where does your mail go while you're gone? How do you pay your bills? First of all, I try to keep my bills to a minimum, live very simply. All of that's electronic. My mail goes to my friends host my mailing address for my mobile lifestyle, and so they would keep me up to date on it if there's anything pressing. But in our modern world, most things are not pressing. They're most of it's junk. How much did you spend a day? So I camped almost exclusively, so that's very affordable. From $5 to $20 a night, $30 a night at the most, and I would cringe if I had to pay that, to free and the kindness to strangers. You could spend a lot more if you wanted to do bed and breakfast, hotels, hostels, those types of things. Your bills would increase. So think about the style of the journey that you want to have and be honest with the budget you need. For me, I travel really dirt cheap. My biggest expense is beer and food, which I have that anyways. So I'm going to eat no matter what I'm doing. I just eat a lot more. I eat everything in sight, which is one of the other questions. How did you fund this? I have sponsorships. I mentioned some of those. Me Tots Arts, Black Pug Bikes. I find ways to take items off of my budget. So housing accommodations basically was free because I was creative and resourceful and could camp, and that's what I chose. I also had the virtual support crew where people would support, and then I have an events business that Tomfoolery Outdoors, that I would budget my events and guiding revenue to help fund the experiences. But there was strings of time where I would get meals and beverages purchased for days and weeks at a time from random people that I would meet, just offering kindness. So you can do it cheap if you're willing to live quite simply. All right, I'm gonna roll through the gear, and then we're gonna be mindful of the time. I'm a few minutes over, go figure. What emergency, I challenge you to try to boil this down to an hour, so give me a break. What emergency items do you carry at all times? I had pepper spray / bear spray for bears out west in the Appalachian Mountains, and then also dogs. But the rest, I do not carry a gun. I will never carry a gun, at least right now. My mindset is I don't think I would. I have a knife. I have repair supplies. And then I have first aid kits for emergencies. Dry weight, I never, ever, ever wanted to know my weight. How much water did you carry? I would carry I would have 3 bottles on me at all times. When I did the northern route across America, I had a water filter, which I used a lot. So that's something you may consider depending on what route you choose. A lot of traveling bicycles, you can carry multiple water bottles. Gear must, I don't know, be comfortable. Be prepared for all 4 seasons. My rides actually took place in all 4 seasons, the northern route in particular. I had sunshine, snow, hail, wind, rain, everything. So being mindful of that. One of the biggest temperature swings I had was in Arizona. I had 8 degrees overnight and 70 during the day. Thankfully, I was prepared for the Southwest during January of 2016. How did you fit your bike to be comfortable, trial and error, professional, or are you just tough as nails? All of that. I am tough, but I also had a quality bike that fit. More so than an expensive bike, get a bike that fits you, adjust the seat. I do recommend going to a bike shop. They can help you, or a friend that's really knowledgeable. All right, we're going to do the rest. 2 minutes. Hang with me, Angela. Do you have something to filter water? I talked about that. Do you pack MREs? I would have dehydrated meals. I always had roughly 2 days worth of food on my bicycle. I had 4 saddlebags to deal with food, and then I would restock at grocery stores, carryouts, restaurants. You have to eat a lot. What kind of foods do you eat? Everything. I'm generally a healthy eater. I prefer fruits, grains, nuts, vegetables, seafood. In parts of America, it is hard to eat healthy. The access to quality food is non-existent in some places. So I did carry protein drinks or powders, occasionally some supplements when I was in the Southwest. It's a food desert, so consider that. Maintain hydration. I drank all the time and refilled my bottles all the time. It was rare that I ever got to a point where I was risking running out of water. We live in America. You can find wild places, but you can also find drinking water just about anywhere, especially if you have a filter. What's your favorite beer? The one in my hand, the one in my mouth. I love sours. I love local craft beers, so I would visit, well timed. I would visit a lot of craft breweries as I traveled. It was a highlight of my adventures for sure. And it was where I would meet cool people and figure out life, where to camp, cool things to see, etc. What were the tastiest things you ate and what were the weirdest, most surprising? I had a sour beer that was infused with squid ink. It was called Squinky. That was really fun. I loved it. Man, it's regional. In the Southwest, I was basically all burrito. Cajun in the South, seafood on the coast, poutine in Michigan. I really loved enjoying the local foods. I tried to be a foodie as I traveled whenever I went out. How do you plan to have enough water? Kind of touched on all of that. All right, I think I hit most of them. Holy cow. A few minutes over. Thanks for your patience. I love you all. Remember, there's a lot of good people out there. Remember, when in doubt, you can bring love. I actually have situations all the time now where I'm mindful about how my actions affect the world around me. And I'm not perfect at it. But I always know that when in doubt, I can bring love to any situation. I can try to be as understanding as possible. And traveling around the country has eliminated fear. It's made me a more open-minded person. I've been more accepting of others. And I encourage you to travel. It can be a great equalizer. So thanks for your time. Follow Tomfoolery Outdoors on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. I love virtual stalkers. Hit me up if you want to dive into adventure planning in more detail. Thank you. I love you all. If we have enough time, there may be a couple questions. If not, happy trails till we meet again. Thanks again to Wright State and Five Rivers Metro Parks.
Thank you so much, Tom. And thank you everyone for joining us tonight. It was so great to have all of you here with us virtually. We have our next presentation is next week. It's actually a panel discussion on Wonder While You Work, how you can turn remote work into remote adventures. And so hopefully you, listening to Tom, got a lot of inspiration and are looking yourselves to get out and take this new situation where we're all working remotely and get on the road and travel and get in some adventures. Tom, there were a couple of questions. I will send everyone, like you said, to your social media. For the most part, you touched on all of those. But someone did ask, and I thought it was important, how can they get involved with Special Olympics?
Amazing. Yeah, thanks for that question. So Special Olympics is a worldwide organization. You can go to specialolympics.org. There's organizations all over the world. In America, every state has a Special Olympic organization. Most counties in each state have a local organization. Ohio, for example, my home state, has 88 counties. Most of those counties have Special Olympic programs. So you could reach out to the local program. If you want to do something more globally or at the statewide level, you could do that. You could also reach out nationally and worldwide. So I hope you would get involved with Special Olympics. That's amazing.
And Tom, how many miles did you average per day?
Well, the entire journey was roughly 15,000 miles. It took me over 450 days. It varied on each section. So kind of briefly, the southern ride took me 103 days and it was roughly 4,300 miles. The Atlantic coast was 100 days and 3,500 miles, give or take. The Pacific coast, I slow rolled. That was 2,500 miles and 130 days. I love the Pacific coast. I love the surf and bodyboard, so I really enjoyed California. And then the northern route, ironically, was the longest. That one was 97 days, which I did the quickest, and 4,500 miles. I was mindful of my weather window, so I did July to the end of October. I didn't want to spill over into November and December in Maine. That did not sound fun on a bicycle. And so I was mindful of that. Plus, I also wanted to vote in the election, and my mobile lifestyle made me want to get back to vote on November 1st.
Awesome. Well, thank you again so much for being our first presenter in the Adventure Speaker Series. Again, thank all of you for joining us tonight. We hope to see you next Thursday for the Adventure Speaker Series with a panel discussion, Wonder While You Work. You can find more information at theadventuresummit.com, and you can follow the Adventure Summit on Facebook and Instagram. Thank you so much.